scientists believed that it wasn't possible to alter our genetic code. After all, the genes that make up our DNA contain all the information about who we are. They give instructions to the body cells and determine everything from the color of our eyes to the functioning of our lungs and our propensity for diseases such as cancer or diabetes. But the life one leads, along with other factors, makes it more complex. Imagine two identical twin brothers. The DNA is the same, but the way they live is very different. One leads a calm life, the other has a stressful job. One exercises more, but the other eats better. The twins start to acquire different characteristics or perhaps develop different diseases. How can this be if their genome is exactly the same? The reason is that the human body has a natural way of turning some of our genes on or off in response to the environment and the lifestyle we lead, and it does so without modifying the DNA. It's called epigenetics, and the set of chemicals that mark the genome and tell cells what to do is known as the epigenome. Think of DNA as an instruction manual for how the cell should work. Every cell in your body has one of these manuals. The epigenome is like someone picking up a pack of colored markers to emphasize or cross out different parts of the manual. This part here, it's more important, accentuate it. This one, don't use it. And how does it do it? Every cell in your body contains almost 2 meters of DNA. In order for it to fit inside a cell, the genetic material is wrapped up in a set of proteins called histones to form a compact structure. But that means the cell doesn't always have easy access to the genes. This is where epigenetics comes into play. Epigenetic marks are chemical markers that act on the structure to give it instructions to compress or decompress the DNA. If they compress it, the cell cannot access the information and the gene is turned off. Epigenetic marks that decompress the DNA allow the cell to read the gene and turn it on. This process starts as soon as the first cells of the human embryo begin to divide. That is why it is so important for the baby what its mother eats, her emotional and physical state, plus the medicines and vitamins she takes. All that information can be transmitted in the form of chemical signals to the baby through the blood. If the mother's diet during pregnancy is poor, the baby could be more prone to obesity since its epigenome has programmed it to store more calories every time it eats. This phenomenon has been tested in several studies with women who went through periods of prolonged famine during wars, for example. But the role of the father is also important because he can transmit some of his epigenetic marks to its children. For example, if a father has been smoking heavily since adolescence, this may result in a shorter life expectancy for his children and even for his grandchildren. The epigenome acts on our body throughout our lives, not just in the embryonic phase. As in the example of the twins, our habits, our diet, our experiences, and the environment in which we live can turn our genes on or off. But it goes further. Epigenetics shows that nature may have found a way to pass on trauma to subsequent generations. In one experiment, scientists made male mice associate the smell of cherry blossom with pain caused by an electric shock. These mice procreated and their offspring also became nervous when they were presented with that smell, despite not having had contact with their parents during their upbringing. The third generation of mice, the grandchildren of the first, also showed greater sensitivity to that smell, more than any of the others. In their DNA, the scientists found epigenetic marks on a gene responsible for coding a protein that is a receptor for odors. They also had more neurons in their brains, responsible for detecting the smell of cherry blossom. But that does not mean that we are predestined to relive the emotions of our parents and grandparents. Scientists are still studying how this type of epigenetic transmission of trauma can occur in humans. Even so, they already predict that it might be possible to reprogram this same mechanism to make us healthier, since